McLaren has been the team to watch in Singapore, with another impressive win by Lando Norris. However, his race wasn't without drama, as he came dangerously close to the wall multiple times. But now it seems Red Bull is questioning the legality of the specific part of McLaren's MCL38, focusing on the front wing. The contrast between the rear wing setups in Baku and Singapore was clear, but the way Norris pulled off this victory reminded many of his performance at Zandvoort. This raises the question, could McLaren's front wing be the real cause of concern for their rivals? And if so, what can the FIA do about it? And that's what we'll be talking about today. There's no denying McLaren has been the team to beat over the past few months, with the MCL38 constantly showing up as the fastest car on almost every track since Miami, even though the points gap between Norris and Verstappen has stayed at 52 since Miami. With only 6 races and 3 sprint events left to go, the Drivers' Championship is far from over. The competition has been heating up, with drivers like Oscar Piastri and Charles Leclerc also making waves, especially after their strong performance in Baku. Now, with all teams preparing to bring new upgrades to Austin in 4 weeks, Red Bull has shifted their attention to McLaren's front wing. The key to McLaren's dominance in Singapore seems to lie in the flexibility of this front wing. Its ability to deform strategically, combined with an aggressive flap angle, allowed McLaren to dominate the slow corners. This aerodynamic advantage has clearly given McLaren a significant edge, but with other teams closing in, the battle is far from over. Unsurprisingly, Red Bull isn't happy about this. Helmut Marko admitted that while they won the fight over the rear wing, they're not done yet. Their next target is McLaren's front wing. Christian Horner has been vocal about the need for the FIA to step in. He mentioned that if there isn't clear guidance on the legality of McLaren's front wing, Red Bull might have no choice but to introduce a similar solution in their upcoming upgrade package for Austin. Horner emphasized how important clarity is for teams in these situations. If something is acceptable, we'll pursue similar solutions, he said. The FIA, which has been collecting data by placing cameras on several cars, is expecting to make a decision soon. Lando Norris's dominant victory, where he often had a 30-second lead over Max Verstappen, showcased how well the MCL38 performs in high downforce conditions. It's clear that McLaren's aero package is working wonders in these scenarios. While Red Bull and Ferrari succeeded in protesting McLaren's DRS flap on the rear wing, the implementation of changes won't happen until the Las Vegas race, and by then, it might be too late. With McLaren's continued dominance, the pressure is on for the FIA to make a call on the legality of the front wing, as other teams prepare to respond in their own ways. The next few races could be crucial for the championship battle. It's becoming clear that the FIA is struggling to manage the regulations, especially when teams like McLaren find loopholes, as they've done so in recent months. In Singapore and Zandvoort, the real advantage for McLaren wasn't in the DRS flap. It was all about the front wing. More specifically, the flexibility of it. Red Bull had actually protested McLaren's front wing long before they raised issues with the DRS in Baku. But the FIA has consistently stood by their response. There's nothing wrong with the MCL38's front wing. Even if there were concerns, there's simply not enough time to conduct a thorough investigation before the 2024 season. This means that other teams like Red Bull and Ferrari are likely to introduce their own flexible front wings, starting in Austin. Meanwhile, McLaren, who has been the most consistent team in bringing upgrades, will also have new developments for their car. Unlike others, McLaren has been able to implement these changes without running into any issues. To really grasp how dominant Lando Norris was in Singapore, we need to look at his lap times compared to Max Verstappen. When Norris began pushing his tyres to the limit around lap 8, he was consistently 1 to 1.5 seconds faster than the Dutchman. The gap was so significant that Norris eventually had a free pit stop window. Even without it, he was set for the fastest lap until Daniel Ricciardo swooped in during the last lap to help Verstappen by snatching those valuable points from Norris. Overall, McLaren's use of the flexible front wing gave them a clear edge, and with other teams following suit, the next few races could see even more intense battles for the top spots. McLaren's high downforce package was taking their performance to a new level, something they could only dream of in the past. Team principal Andrea Stella explained that at high levels of downforce, McLaren is incredibly competitive. He pointed to their dominant performances in Hungary and Zandvoort as proof. While McLaren's aero deficiency is the best on the grid in downforce setups, at lower drag levels, Ferrari and Red Bull are more comparable. Stella also admitted that McLaren has invested more heavily in high downforce performance, but is making progress on lower downforce tracks by retaining downforce while reducing drag. Interestingly, McLaren isn't the only team accused of bending the front wing regulations. Mercedes has also faced similar accusations, but their struggles with the other parts of the car, like the floor and the overall stability of the W15, have kept them from being as competitive as McLaren. This has shielded Mercedes from the same level of criticism from Red Bull. Meanwhile, Red Bull has been focusing on trying to disrupt McLaren's momentum. In Singapore, Daniel Ricciardo set the fastest lap, taking away a valuable point from Norris and potentially driving his last lap in Formula 1. Red Bull's attention might need to shift away from protesting McLaren's front wing and towards improving their own car for the remainder of the season. Max Verstappen himself admitted that more upgrades are needed to keep up with Norris, a sentiment echoed by Helmut Marko. As McLaren continues to make strides and Red Bull feels the pressure, the battle for the championship is heating up. Red Bull's focus might need to turn inward if they want to maintain their edge in the final races. Commenting on Lando Norris's dominant win, Helmut Marko admitted, "It's crazy how Norris has pulled away. Our deficit is alarming. We urgently need performance. With 4 weeks to go before the next race, Red Bull is hoping to close the gap. But catching up to McLaren might take more than just a tweak to their front wing. As Marko pointed out, the gap in pace is significant, and a flexible front wing alone may not be enough to bridge it." What's often overlooked is that McLaren's upgrades span the entire car, not just a single component. As Oscar Piastri explained, there's no silver bullet. McLaren's improvements have been widespread, making it harder for other teams to catch up. Even so, McLaren isn't going to sit back quietly. Zak Brown and Andrea Stella were furious after Red Bull used Ricciardo to steal the fastest lap away from Norris in Singapore, a move they felt undermined the spirit of fair competition. While the tactic is legal for now, things could change. Zak Brown didn't hold back when commenting on Ricciardo's fastest lap. "That's a nice AB team sporting move that I didn't know was allowed. But hey, it's not the first time we've seen it, and probably won't be the last. I'll be asking questions." Brown believes that this type of strategic pit stop was more about taking points from Norris than helping Ricciardo, and he's not happy about it. Regardless of Brown's frustrations, the rules are clear for now. However, with both McLaren and Red Bull constantly pushing the limits, it wouldn't be surprising to see changes in the near future. The battle between these two teams is heating up, and as they each bring new upgrades, the remaining races promise to be intense. McLaren has had the upper hand since Miami. But their failure to capitalize on this advantage in key races like Imola, Spain, Montreal, Austria, Silverstone and Spa raises questions. If Lando Norris loses the championship by a narrow margin, he may have only himself to blame. The team's strategy also needs some fine-tuning. While McLaren has prioritized Norris, they did so a bit too late, costing him valuable points. In Hungary, for instance, 7 points were sacrificed to help Oscar Piastri secure his first ever win, a decision that may have long-term consequences. With all of this in mind, the question remains, should McLaren's MCL38 front wing undergo further scrutiny? Red Bull has already raised concerns, but McLaren has so far weathered the protests. The flexibility of the front wing has been a key factor in McLaren's dominance, particularly on how downforce tracks, but other teams are keeping a close eye on it. If the FIA were to step in and conduct further inspections, could McLaren still come out on top in yet another off-track battle? Many believe McLaren will pass any tests the FIA throws their way, just as they've done before. But as the season progresses and the championship race tightens, any small change could have big implications. Whether or not McLaren's front wing is cleared again, it's clear that the team's focus will need to be razor sharp as they fight for the title in the remaining races. The battle on and off the track is heating up, and every detail could make the difference. That's all for today. What do you think will happen next? Let us know in the comments below. And if you liked the video, then please subscribe to our channel and stay on the lookout for more similar content.